Welcome to the audio booth. First things first, we've got our light up here. Pull the string, turns it on and off. There's a light down in Mr. Koppel's office that has to be turned on for this light to work. So if this isn't working, make sure you press that light. Then over here, we've got more lights. So we've got the light right here. It has some filters on it because it's bright white otherwise. So then the power button right down here, you just tap it and it turns on. Tap it, there you go. It turns on, tap it again, turns right off. Okay, another light right over here, right over the board. For this light, you go right here. There's a little switch taped down to the desk. Flick it, the light turns on. Flick it again, light turns off. And everything else on this table, we have, this is usually empty, so you could put a laptop there if you've got sound effects, like that's what this is right now. So these are all sound effects. And then there's also the mixing board. So the mixing board, just a quick how-to on this. Make sure you check out the other video to really see everything. But a quick how-to on this is, these are the labels, so you know what everything is. God mic, PC, the input 4 from the stage. These are all the mute buttons, so you can mute stuff. These are all the faders, so you can change the volume. The gain knobs are up here, and then this is where you plug in all the different stuff. And then these red and yellow mustard and ketchup cords. Red is right, and then left is usually white or yellow. We've got yellow in this case. So red is always right, and then yellow is the left output. And those go out to the speaker distributor. So then everything's labeled, so you know what everything is. So that's how you mix. Over here is also a keyboard and a mouse. These are both wireless, so to turn them on, there's a switch down here for the mouse. There's a switch right up here where my finger is, so you can turn them both on. And these are already linked up to this computer right here, the board computer. To turn this on, there's a button right up here. You press that and it turns it on, and it's touchscreen as well if you want to tap and stuff on it. So that's what's on this table. There's also a headset right here. This is for the comm system, and I'll explain the comm system in a little bit, but you can put it on. Make sure you have that mic that's dangling right in front of your face. Okay. So that is, and then there's one more thing. There's the battery charger right here on the side of the desk. It fits 16 rechargeable batteries at once. This will display how full the batteries are, and once all the batteries in one section are full, because each of these screens shows 8 batteries each. So once one section of 8 batteries is completely done, it'll show all the batteries on it, but it'll be grayed out like this. When batteries are still charging, the screen will be bright blue. That's everything in there. Inside this desk, you can't quite see it, but there's some pads and stuff, some post-its if you want to write sticky notes to yourself. And then there's a couple cable ties, like twist ties and little bits of cable tie if you want to tie cables. On the other side, we have some pencils. We have our blue tape. This blue tape stays in the booth. It is for marking booth stuff, like the board, or like marking mics and stuff. We use this blue tape right here. The other tape in here is there's a black bag. A mysterious black bag, I know. And inside this bag has all the electrical tape. And this is it can be used to make electrical repairs, but we use it to label stuff brightly so that we know what it is from stage. So if I wrap this white tape around a mic and I put this white tape on the board, I know when I move this white fader that I'm moving whatever mic that is that I've labeled with my tape. And we've got a whole bunch of different colors in here. So that's what you use that for. And that just goes right under here in the desk. And then the God mic is right here. So this is the mic that is labeled God on this board. And then once we move over from these desks, move over a little more, and here is the rack. So this rack has multiple parts to it. Let's start with what you can see already. So first things first, whatever you need to do, every single time you start doing sound and all that stuff, is this red switch right here. This needs to turn on. This red switch turns on everything in the rack, including the speaker distributor box. This is important because this is what gives us sound out the speakers. If you don't turn this red switch on, nothing else turns on and we don't get any sound. To look at the back of stuff in the rack mount, there's a little twist thing right here. You untwist it and then the whole thing hinges up and gets out of your way. So untwist it and the whole thing hinges up. So I took it off, put it in the corner, and now I've got access to everything in the back. So if I show you in the back, the red and yellow cables, they're black now, go into the back of this, and then 4 other cables go out to the speakers in the house. So you can see, you'll check your levels. Left, the yellow cable, red, right cable, and then those are the inputs, these are the outputs. It'll go out to left rear, left front, right rear, and right front, and then the last 2 channels we don't use. That's that box. Next one is our comm box. So this is our headset we saw earlier, and then over here we've got our talk button. So if you want to talk to someone on this comm, you have to press that once and it'll glow, and that means you can talk and anybody will hear you when you talk into the mic. If you want to stop talking, you can press it again, it turns off, you're no longer talking, and it's always this one on the left. And if you want to call someone, you hold this little black button underneath, it's labeled call, hold it, and it'll flash like that. And if I were to look over at one of the belt packs, then I would see, you can't quite see, a little bit, it's glowing red over there. So somebody knows that I'm calling them. If I turn it off, it stops glowing, turn it back on, it's glowing again. And it'll flash on yours if somebody's calling you. So be sure to check out for that. If somebody's calling you, it'll flash like this. Next one is the effects. So this has multiple effects in it. You can use it as you please. There will be another video on that, I'll link. This is the compressor. You can use it as a compressor. It's 2 channels. You can link them together for stereo compression. And then next, these 6 green boxes are our wireless mic receivers. So you can see whatever's going on with the mics. These are all tuned already. You don't really have to worry about touching them because they should all be good. But they're all labeled just in case. So W1, W2, 3, 4, W5, W6. So that's that. And then after that are these 2 drawers. So inside this drawer are the mics. So inside these little pouches, you unzip them, pull out a mic, and there you go. You've got a wired mic you can use. And they're all taped and ready to go, so you can plug one in and label it on the board and say, okay, I've got the red mic. And that's that. And then over here are all my adapters. So in this little compartment is the phono/TRS. So phono is cables that look like this with the tip and the sleeve. Then you've got RCA cables. RCA are the ones that look like this with the weird pin inside the circle. And then on this side is XLR adapters. XLR are the guys that look like this with the weird 3 pins inside of them. Okay. And then there's also some mic stand holders in this. A couple weird cables and some rack mount screws. And then inside here are antenna parts that you won't ever need. Inside this bottom drawer is documentation for most of the stuff we've got, which is also on the computer, saved in the files. So if you ever need a manual for one of the things, it's on the computer, saved. On this computer right here, it's saved in the files. And then we also have all the very short cables here. So if it's about 3 feet or under, it's probably in here, because this is where it's most useful. It's where you can find it. That's what's in those 2 drawers. You don't really need to worry about whatever's in here. There's a power strip if you need to do anything, like hook a fan up, charge your phone. There's a power strip right there. Then over on this shelf, we have our batteries. This box has batteries in it. And so we have all our rechargeable batteries right here. We have 2 9 volts. We don't use those, but we're keeping them just in case. And then we have all the used batteries here. So these batteries have been used once. Most batteries, you can get 2 usages out of them. You get 2 shows. So that means most batteries will work for 2.5 hour shows. So about 5 hours total. But that is the maximum capacity of those batteries. So these batteries have all been used for 1 show. So they still, in theory, have 1 more show left in them, right? But since we're pushing them really hard like that, we never use these batteries for an actual performance, because there's always a possibility that these die before the end of the performance. So we never use these for a second performance. We can use these for rehearsals, for tech. So if we're doing a 2.5 hour tech, please use these batteries, because if the mic dies during tech, that doesn't matter. And then we've used the batteries up and we can throw them away. But never use used batteries for a show. Only use rechargeable batteries or brand new batteries, which are in this box right here. These are brand new, never been used batteries. Once you use these for 1 show, they go into this box. Yep. Above that is the mic tape. That's for taping actors. Over here, we've got a DI box. So this box, you can see the direct input box. So if you've got a guitar or something. So what you do is you plug the guitar in on this one. Then on the output, you put this into the snake on stage, and that's it. Moving on from that, we have our wireless mics. So we've got 6 packs for those, and we have 4 handheld mics. The handheld mics are connotated by the W put in front of whatever number, and the wireless packs just have the number. Some of the boxes have both packs and handhelds, so I'll show you what that looks like. So these big boxes just have the wireless ones like this. You can see wireless 1, wireless 1. These boxes have mic number 3 and handheld number 3. So we've got handheld number 3 and mic number 3, just like that. And then this is what this is what 4 of the packs look like, and this is what 2 of the packs look like. So they both work the same though. There's buttons on the side, right here and here. You squeeze them, and the battery cage opens. Put 2 batteries in, make sure the flat side touches the springs, and that's it. Close them. The on switch is right up here, so you flick that on. If it turned on, you would see this screen light up, and you could see some numbers on it. So, same thing for the other one. Open it up, squeeze those 2 sides, batteries in. You can turn it on by switching it on. That's how that works. And then to actually get sound out of these, you need to plug a mic in to this jack. So, see those 4 pins in kind of a Y shape? That plugs into this, the microphone. It's got 4 holes in kind of a Y shape. And then this other end is the microphone. This goes by the actor's face. That's how that goes. And the handhelds, to turn those on, there's a little switch down here. Click it, screen lights up, and you can tell how much battery you've got, all that. You can flick it again, and it's just on the back side of there. If I flick it, it'll turn off, and there you go. To change the batteries on these guys, you've got to, I've only got one hand, you untwist this bottom section, twist right off, and then you can see there will be 2 batteries inside. So if I pulled this one out, another one would slide down from inside here where my thumb is going. So the 2 batteries come out, you throw them away because they'll be out of power, and you put in 2 new batteries. Then you slide that section back up, slide the section back up, and twist it back on until it's nice and tight. There you go. Change the batteries like that. This black mic is broken. We don't need it. Don't worry about it. These handhelds are slightly different, barely. Just the on switch is on the bottom, like here, and that's how you turn it on. That's it. That's how the wireless mics go. And then that is pretty much everything in the booth. We've got a spare comm headphone right here, just resting up at the top. We've got a pair of headphones back there in case you wanted to listen to whatever you're putting out of the mixing board. And then over here next to our desk, that's all the lighting booth stuff. I guess I should talk about this back table. This back table, we like to keep it as clean as possible. So right now I've got those mics on it just so I could show you guys, but otherwise than that, we like to keep it very clean so that we can have a place to work on stuff. If you need to like cut gels for the lighting people, if you need to tape mics, stuff like that, that's what we use this back table for. So it stays clean because it's a workbench. Then down under the table is kind of our storage place. We have an extra monitor, we have an empty dual rack flight case, we have some old boxes, and then here are all our cables. So we have 2 boxes of cables. So this first box has just kind of RCA cables, which I explained before, red and white. So red is right, white is left. We've got TRS cables or TS cables, so these will be for like guitars and instruments like that. And then we also have aux cables in here too. That's pretty much everything that's in here. Don't use those very often, but if you do, they're right there. There is a box in the back full of cables, but as you can see, it's labeled bad. That means the cables are bad. Don't use them. They're bad cables, they won't work. That's why they're in the bad box. These cables are good, on the other hand, and in this box we have XLR cables. XLR cables are, as we said before, those 3-pin cables. Usually use them for mics, maybe some instruments sometimes, and they're all labeled with the length. As length, the pink it denotates a length, so know how long you want your cables, and there's a guide in here that says what color is what length. On the other side, we have some power cables. So these are for speakers or for computers, in case you need to power stuff like that. And on the other end is the 3 prongs that go into the wall. And that is that. There's also some cardboard boxes with some audio equipment we don't use, but if you ever think like, oh, we really need something else, check those boxes first. We also have a vacuum cleaner. It vacuums stuff. It's pretty self-explanatory. If it ever gets clogged, or if it ever seems like it isn't sucking, just unscrew this part right here and check that the tube isn't clogged inside. This is a portable speaker system. It's pretty self-explanatory. These are just some antenna cables. You'll probably never need those. This is all lighting stuff. There's a couple power cables in there, but those are lights, and those are can lights. This is more lighting stuff. This basket we'll use for valuables, so the actors will put their phones in here during shows, especially shows with wireless mics, because the phones will interfere with the frequencies that the wireless mics use and give you lots of static and hiss. So it's good to keep all the phones in one place instead of backstage, because if the phones are backstage, then they will cause problems for your show. And that is pretty much everything about the booth. So we've got our batteries, our lights, we've got our mixing board, our computer, our rack. So just to highlight the main points again, the light switch right here needs Koppel's office to be turned on first. There's a light switch right there for the light on the desk. The mixing board is right here. The rack needs to be turned on with that red switch in the corner every time you come here. The computer is controlled by those 2 keyboard and mice. Make sure you turn those on as well. And that is pretty much everything in the booth. So now we're on stage. You can see the booth is up there, all the way up there. And then over here on the stage left side, behind these periactoids, is what we call the snake. The snake is attached to the wall right here. You can see him. So this lets you plug in wired mics on the stage. So you can plug it into channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, channel 4, and you can just run it right from here onto stage. And this magical thing the blue cable runs all the way up to the booth. So this, on the other end of it, you can see cables that are labeled 1, 2, and 3, and those plug into the board. So this allows you to run cables all the way from the booth to the stage without having to actually run cables like that. You just plug them into the wall right here. And going further backstage, if we stay on the stage left side, there's something we call the tech closet. So you open this door, and in here, we have some other goodies. We have mic stands, so if somebody's singing for like a talent show, they might want a mic stand, or if they're playing guitar, we've got some cooler stands right here too. There are speaker stands that we don't use because we don't typically add more speakers. We have a whole bunch of extension cables. These are all labeled with the same colored diagram. So pink, again, that means 25 feet. We've got yellow ones, it's 50 feet. The diagram is in the box. More extension cords. These are really thick, heavy duty. I think most of these are 100-foot extension cords. Do not use these unless you really have to, because these are thick and a pain to coil up once you're done with them. Try to use the thinner, better cords. We also have 2 spare speakers in here in case we ever need more speakers for whatever reason. There's also the dimmers and whatnot, which is lighting equipment. But that is pretty much all the audio gear in here. In the dressing rooms, we have 2 TVs. This is TV number 2. And then on this side, the light's on, this is TV number 1. These TVs both work. You just have to make sure you turn the camera on up in the booth. But the catch is TV 1, this one, on the stage right side, has to be turned on before TV 2 will work. So you can turn TV 1 on all by itself and it'll work just fine. But if you turn TV 2, this guy, if you turn him on all by himself, then it will not work. You have to have TV 1 on in order for TV 2 to work and show a picture. We also have a light back here. Flick this guy. Nice blue light so that we don't have these bright lights bleeding out on stage during show performances. This is the camera in the booth, so you can see where it is. To turn it on, it's nice and simple. There's a switch right here at the edge of my finger. You have to press down in the middle of it and then push it forward. You can see the screen turns on, just like that. And now the TVs backstage will work so the actors can see their performance. Make sure you turn it off at the end of the night just by pushing that switch again, moving it back to the middle, just like that. That's the camera.